Is Doc Rotten with Horror News Radio and Gruesome Magazine. Joining me tonight is the one and only David Dreher. He is here to talk about the film Volumes of Blood Horror Stories. Dave, how you doing?
Did you just call me the one and homely?
I might have. That works, right?
It works for me. What the hell? What do we care?
So tell me about Volumes of Blood Horror Stories. This is not the first in this series, is it?
This is not. This is from P.J. Starks and his crew. He gave us the original Volumes of Blood back in 2015, which I absolutely loved. Independent feature, 5 different directors. The first one was great, but I'll tell you what, Horror Stories is even better. He's certainly upped his game with his second chapter in this. Much more complicated wraparound story, much tighter wraparound story. The basic structure of it is based around a house. It's a young couple looking at a house, and each room they go into, they start on the top floor, the top story, and they work their way around bedroom, bathroom, down, and each room tells a different story, something horrific that has happened in that room. And I just loved it. We had at the very beginning of it, before we start that, about the first 10 minutes is actually the introduction of like the big bad, a character by the name of Atticus Crow, I believe, Atticus Crow, who is, local guy who's killed and buried in the back behind the house. And of course is resurrected, to kill everyone who sets foot in the house, basically. I just found it really enjoyable. I mean, this is, to me, is what horror films are all about. It's fun. It's campy. No CGI, just blood flying everywhere. It's actually kind of disturbing how much blood is in this movie.
Now, if we didn't make it clear, it's an anthology film. So there's a number of directors and stories involved. So I take it by putting it in a house and full of stories that it helped tie all these anthology stories together? It
does, and they don't really tell you like who's directing which. They're not broken down by like title segments. Each story from each room, it just shows you a date and a time. They all seem to want to follow around holidays. It'll say like New Year's Day, 1985, and it'll say Christmas Eve, 1973. But they don't tell you who's directing what segment at that point in time. It's not like what the Tales of Halloween did with like an elongated introduction to each one. It just makes it flow much smoother. And one thing I can really say about this is all the directors work very well together. It's almost seamless. If you didn't know that it was a different director with each segment, you wouldn't know.
Excellent. For horror fans, is there plenty? You mentioned gore, so is there plenty of gore? Is there a gory scene that you could spotlight for horror fans to look forward to?
Well, my God, there's just so many. I mean, we get disembowelings, we get eye gouges, we get. I don't want to spill the beans too much because I know at the end of this you're going to ask for my favorite scene, and my favorite scene is one of the best gore scenes, so I don't want to say that one yet. But yeah, I mean, we actually have a man fed his own innards with a shovel. That's something you don't see every day. Just lots of throat slashing, lots of old school, what I call Savini style effects, the old throat slashings and the eye pokings and, lots of knives, lots of stabbies.
A lot of stabbies. Well, you hinted at it. So yeah, next up is, what is your favorite scene?
There is a particular death scene in this with a girl who, is beaten up pretty badly. He picks her up by the hair and he opens her mouth and puts her teeth on the coffee table. Why couldn't I think of the word coffee table? Puts her teeth on it and then steps on her head and knocks all her teeth out. But the way that it's filmed, there's also a bowl of candy corn sitting on the table. And as the teeth fly, it mixes with the candy corn. And they're up in there. It was just really a beautifully, horrifically violent shot that you just couldn't take your eyes off of. It's the first gore scene in a long time that I actually found to be rather artistic, for lack of a better term of it. But that, for me, by far was the best gag in the movie.
Nice. What is your score for Volumes of Blood 1 through 5.
I am going to give Volumes of Blood a whopping 4 out of 5 stars. Well done, everyone involved. Horror fans see this one, particularly if you're a gore fan.
Yeah, I suppose we should say Volumes of Blood Horror Stories, which is the second in the series. If you want to hear more of these reviews, head over to gruesomemagazine.com where you can find more of these, and also the podcast Horror News Radio and the sister podcast, All the Decades of Horror ones. You can also check out the magazine we do every quarter, which comes out digital and print on demand. Dave, as always, my fellow Horror News Radio comrade, it's a pleasure talking to you. Let's say goodnight.
Good night, everybody.